Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Capital G here. Got another deck tech for you coming from M21. Let us go with Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Now it's pretty funny. M21 was marketed as a Tefari themed set, but that theme's never really shone through. He didn't get any more cards dedicated to that character than any of the other Planeswalkers. And in fact, we're actually visiting a lot of planes that, to our immediate knowledge, he's never visited, such as Kamigawa and Ixalan. Ixalan, of course, is where Vito is from. And lots of buzz around him, especially with a certain enchantment being reprinted at about the same time. So let's look at Vito. Let's have a closer look at our vampiric friend here. Talking to black, 2 generic mana gives us a legendary vampire cleric. He's only a 1/3, so not a huge presence on the battlefield, but whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. And there's lots of effects like that, lots of synergies to go with that. You also have the option of paying 5 mana, that's 3 generic and 2 black, to give our entire board lifelink until the end of turn. Now it'd be nice if he also had white mana, because there's a lot more life gain synergies in Wars Off colors than there is in only black colors. But that doesn't mean there's nothing we can do, because hey, there's plenty. Let's have a closer look. Starting with our artifacts, Bantu's Monument, we're running 22 other creatures. So, hey, let's reduce the cost of our black creatures by 1, and whenever we cast a creature spell, each opponent loses a life, we gain a life, and then we can kind of give a friendly poke to somebody else as well if Vito's on the battlefield. Bubbling Cauldron. It's a little 2 mana rock here. It says here, 1, tap and sack a creature to gain 4 life, which we can dome somebody with Vito on the battlefield. Or 1, tap, sacrifice a creature named Festering Newt. Each opponent loses 4 life and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So yes, I am actually running the Festering Newt and the Witch as well. So that'd be a fun little throw in. Chalice of Life, love this in my Ragnar and Krav deck, and it has a home here too. Tap to gain a life, and if you have at least 10 more life than your starting total, this would transform into the Chalice of Death, where we can simply tap to make target player lose 5 life. Some mana accelerants with Felwar Stone. It's still cheaper to get a Felwar Stone than it is an Arcane Signet, so that is what we're going with here. Also running the Hazardous Monument. No, there is no mana reduction with the Hazardous Monument, because it only reduces the cost of red creatures. However, with all of our creature spells, we discard a card to draw a card. So it helps us filter through our deck a little bit. The Heraldic Banner. This will wrap us up. We'll choose black, of course. So this will tap for black mana, and it'll give all of our black creatures +1/+0. Jet Medallion straight up reduces all of our black spells by 1 generic. Running the Soul Ring. We do want to be a bit quick with this deck. Chances are people will take one look at Vito and come after you, so obviously we want to run some good ramp. Well of Lost Dreams is here. Whenever we gain life, we can pay X, where X is equal to or less than the amount of life we've gained to draw that many cards. Wishclaw Talisman to tutor up our key pieces. Chance again, once you use this Wishclaw Talisman, you have to give it to somebody else, but once you use this Wishclaw Talisman, the idea is we're going to win the game with it. So, and Witch's Oven is here. Tap and sacrifice a creature to create a food token, and if the sacrifice creature's toughness was 4 or greater, we create 2 food tokens. Now the cool thing about food tokens is, of course, we can pay 2 and tap and sacrifice those food tokens to gain 3 life. With Vito on the battlefield, that means we get to dome somebody for 3 while gaining life ourselves. So felt some pretty nice synergy there. I didn't throw in some of the more powerful mana rocks, but if you have them, definitely use them, because we want to be quick, and I'll show you why as we go along. But before we get there, let's talk about our creatures. Ayaraf, first of Locthwain. I've been wanting to use her in a deck for a while, and this is a good spot for her. Whenever she or another black creature enters the battlefield under our control, each opponent loses a life and we gain a life. And we can sacrifice other black creatures to draw cards. Bishop of the Bloodstain from Ixalan. That's double black and 3 for a 3/3, and when this enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 1 life for each vampire we control. We're not going full vampire tribal, but most of our creatures are in fact vampires. Just kind of happened that way. Of course, one of the most famous of them, Blood Artist. When this or another creature dies, target player loses a life and we gain a life. Bog Brew Witch. This is what helps us get our Festering Newt or our Bubbling Cauldron, so if we get her first, we can get the remaining 2 pieces fairly quickly. Cauldron Familiar. Of course, we're running the Witch's Oven, so it's a very powerful combo in Standard to run those 2 cards. We're running them here too, because, hey, this cat will come in, only 1 black mana for the 1/1. Each opponent loses a life and we would gain a life. And then we sacrifice the food to bring him back onto the battlefield, so we can either sacrifice the food and focus on 1 opponent, or we can keep bringing this Cauldron Familiar back and kind of poking out everyone. Black-Rich Troll. 8/8 for 5 mana, trample and haste. When this enters the battlefield, an opponent creates 3/0/1 white goat creature tokens. And at the beginning of combat on our turn, any opponent can sacrifice a creature. It can be the goats, it can be something else that they have. Doesn't matter. But if they do sacrifice something, we'll have to tap our Black-Rich Troll, but we would gain 3 life and draw cards. So he's here to help us draw cards, or if we have the opportunity to attack, we can play some politics and try to swing at someone who may not be able to defend themselves from an 8/8. Corrupt Cast. Of course, mono black, so we can double up on our mana from swamps very easily with this, and the Extort is also really nice. Defiant Bloodlord. Again, whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life, so a little bit of redundancy. Dread Presence. A black and 3 generic for this 3/3 from M20, a previous core set. And whenever a swamp enters the battlefield under our control, we get to draw a card and lose life, or we can deal 2 damage to any target and gain 2 life, which of course then triggers Vito. Erebos. Running Erebos, God of the Dead from OG Theros. Why? Because our opponents can't gain life. So an indestructible enchantment that says our opponents can't gain life. Yes, that's exactly what we want. Falconroth Noble. Another aristocrat card, a 2/2 flyer. Whenever this or another creature dies, target player loses a life and we gain a life. There's our Festering Newt. If whenever this dies, it doesn't matter if it's through the Cauldron, for the Bubbling Cauldron, or if it dies in any other fashion. When this dies, a creature target opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Or if we have our Bog Brew Rich in play, it'd be -4/-4 instead. There's my namesake card, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, aka Gary. Obviously, we want to drain life from all of our opponents, so hey, more black pips on the board, the better for us. Running Murderous Rider with the Swift End side of things. This fits pretty nicely. Destroy target creature or planeswalker at instant speed. And then when it does come onto the battlefield, it's a 2/3 lifelink. Nocturnal Feeder coming in from Jumpstart. She's a little common, 2/1 flyer for 3 mana. When this dies, each opponent loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. So, fits right in. Runescarred Demon, another way for us to tutor out our game-winning pieces. It's also a 6/6 flyer, so we can't really ignore that aspect of the card either. Serrated Scorpion, a 1/2 for with just 1 lowly mana. When this dies, deal 2 damage to each opponent and we gain 2 life. The Tree of Perdition. So we can do some fun things with this. Once this is out, we can swap this 13 points of toughness for someone, say, 38-40 points of life. And then if our own life totals kind of run down a little bit, we can tap the Tree of Perdition, get that 38-40 points of toughness in exchange for, say, our 20 points of life. And it does count as a life gain, so it does synergize. The Urborg Siphon Mage. Cool little spell shaper. We can pay 3 mana, tap, and discard a card to have each other player lose 2 life, and we would gain life equal to the amount of life lost this way. So all 3 opponents still in play, still in the game. We activate this, we gain 6 life, so we can dome somebody for an additional 6 afterwards. Vindictive Vampire, another aristocrat. It would deal 1 damage to each opponent, and we gain 1 life whenever this or another creature we control dies. Remember, we have those new rules, Commander dies triggers rule in effect. So, if Vito were taken off of the battlefield with a kill spell of some sort, Vindictive Vampire will trigger on that. Woe Strider. A 3/2 for black and 2 generic. This one coming in from Theros Beyond Death. It's the recurable Viscerous here, as it were. It enters the battlefield with a goat creature token. We can sacrifice another creature to scry 1, and we can escape by paying 5 and exiling 4 other cards, so bring it back from our graveyard on its own. And it just happens to have 2+1/+1 counters on it when it escapes, so he's actually got quite a bit of board presence, as well as that nice sacrifice outlet. And lastly, of course, the classic Zulaport Cutthroat. When this or another creature we control dies, each opponent loses a life, and we gain 1 life. Moving on to enchantments, Bastion of Remembrance, of course, our new aristocrat enchantment. A black and 2 generic gives us a enchantment that also gives us a 1/1 human soldier when it comes into play. And then whenever a creature we control dies, each opponent loses a life, and we gain 1 life. Blood Chief Ascension is here. So as long as we're making our opponents lose life at the beginning of our end step, if an opponent has lost 2 or more life, we can put a quest counter on the Blood Chief Ascension. And whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if this has 3 more quest counters on it, we can have that player lose 2 life. If we do, we gain 2 life. Comes down for only 1 black mana. Comes down early. We should be able to put counters on it often, and then take advantage from there. Dictative Erebos, of course. Whenever a creature we control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Very, very powerful effect. And of course, Exquisite Blood, getting the reprint and Jumpstart. A long, long awaited reprint. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Doesn't seem powerful on its own, but paired with Vito, we can easily one-shot our opponents by simply gaining 1 life. Running Oath of Liliana. It's a good way to get everyone to sacrifice all of our opponents to sacrifice a creature. The reason I'm running Oath over, say, Faceless Butcher or creatures of the like, is the fact that because it's an enchantment, it stays in play and it counts towards devotion, which fuels Gary. So that's the idea there. I am running 1 Liliana. We'll see her shortly. Fraction Arena for the additional card draw. Sanguine Bond. Whenever we gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood are the classic combo, but because Vito already does what Sanguine Bond does, it just gives us one of those 2 combo pieces out of the command zone. Sanguine Bond itself is here for additional redundancy. Going into our instance, Bake into a Pie. Not a typical commander card, but hey, it destroys a creature and it gives us a food token, which we can cash in for a life gain and perhaps doming an opponent. Dark Ritual for just a quick 1-shot 3 black mana. Go for the Throat, pretty efficient kill spell, destroy target non-artifact creature. In that same vein is Heartless Act, coming in from Ikoria. Destroy target creature with no counters on it, or remove up to 3 counters from target creature. It's pretty sweet. Liliana's Triumph. Again, we're only running 1 Liliana, so don't expect to get the discard clause on this card. But hey, we're making each of our opponents sacrifice a creature for only 2 mana. I like the sound of that. Moment of Craving. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and you gain 2 life. Again, there's plenty of utility creatures this will knock out for us and give us that life gain trigger. Unlikely Aid. This may come and save our Vito from a board wipe. Target creature gets +2/0 and indestructible until end of turn. And Vraska's Contempt. Excellent removal spell, 4 mana, but at instant speed we can exile a creature or a planeswalker and gain some life. Good fit here. For lands, running the Cabal Coffers and Cabal Stronghold. I'm not running Urborg. I've actually kept the non-basics to an absolute minimum here. So it's Cabal Coffers, Cabal Stronghold, Castle Lochthwain. As long as we control the swamp, it comes in untapped and it gives us card draw on a land. Running a Fabled Passage and 33 swamps. By the way, super happy that this is reprinted in Core 21. And hopefully we'll keep seeing this consistently reprinted because this is a very, very nice card for the standard formats. There's our Liliana Vess. It's the OG Liliana Vess. Black, 3 generic. She's here strictly for that -2. Search our library for a card, shuffle it, and put it on top of our library. So obviously the card we'll be searching for the most will be the Exquisite Blood. If the Exquisite Blood is dealt with in some way, shape, or form, we can always use the +1 and have our opponents discard cards, but really that -2 is what it's all about here. And 13 sorceries. Got Arterial Floor, it's 3 mana, so black, 2. Each opponent discards 2 cards, and then if we control a vampire, each opponent loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. So a little bit of burn and a little bit of hand disruption for all of our opponents. Blood Tribute, this is definitely the combo that's gotten people talking. So Vito out on the battlefield. You pay your 6 mana, you kick it by tapping an untapped vampire you control. Hey, Vito's a vampire. Target opponent loses half their life rounded up, and if Blood Tribute was kicked, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So as long as they have an even life total, let's say even 40 life, you cast your Blood Tribute, you choose your target, you tap your Vito to kick it. They lose 20 life to this spell, we gain 20 life, and then we can dome that player again for an additional 20. Check out Bubbling Muck. Until end of turn, whenever a player taps a swamp for mana, produces an additional black. Now, there's a blue version of this, the name escapes me at this specific moment in time, that sees a lot of play, but Bubbling Muck I've never seen anybody cast. So, I might be the first in my play group, who knows? Consuming Vapor is a great removal spell, again, forcing our opponents to sacrifice creatures, and then regain life equal to that creature's toughness, which again synergizes with Vito and all the plans that we have. Sometimes you just need a straight up reset, and that's what Damnation is for. Now, Cockatrice always displays the latest version. The one that I have is actually an OG Planar Chaos Damnation, but Demonic Tutor, again, really important to search for that Exquisite Blood. Keep in mind that as soon as you show a Vito on the table, unless you're honestly not playing Exquisite Blood, and you say so right off the hop, you are getting targeted. Because people are expecting Exquisite Blood to come and start one-shotting opponents. So, because that is our game plan, obviously we want our Demonic Tutor to get it. Extinction Event, a nice little utility ref. We can choose to exile creatures with an even mana cost or an odd mana cost, whatever we need at the time. Foreboding Fruit, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. And if at least 3 black mana was spent to cast a spell, we create a food token. We're running a mono black deck, so we're drawing 2 cards. Yes, we'll lose 2 life, but we're getting some food. Grim Tutor, the most talked about reprint in M21. Actually, there's a lot of heavily talked about reprints, including Ugin. But I'm saying it's Grim Tutor that's the most talked about because this is a card we have not seen in a very long time. It's a card I've never seen cast before. And I'm glad we're getting this. Night's Whisper, just straight up draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Thorn's Vengeance. So this is more of a mid-game. Somebody's already taken some damage. And with Vito on the battlefield, Thorn's Vengeance can take down any opponent who's at 20 life or less for 7 mana. Siphon Mine gives us a little bit of card draw while disrupting our opponent's hands. And lastly, Taste of Death. How's this Eldraine piece of spice? 6 mana for sorcery. Each player sacrifices 3 creatures and you create 3 food tokens. That's a pretty gruesome card when you think about it. And the art doesn't help matters much. But yes, forcing your opponents to sacrifice 3 creatures each while giving yourself a bunch of food tokens that you can weaponize with Vito back on the battlefield later. Yes, please. And that's my take on Vito. Like I said, if you are running Vito but you are not running Exquisite Blood, make sure you say so. Otherwise, you're going to be hated out of the game. Everyone is expecting to see Exquisite Blood in a Vito deck, and nobody wants to see it actually happen. So be on guard for that, especially if you are running Exquisite Blood like we are here. We want to get there as quickly as possible. And if you have some of the more powerful mana rocks, say the mana vaults, be sure to run them because you want to get that card out quickly. And I've got a busy day ahead, so I'm going to quickly sign out here. And Medallion and I will catch you later. Bye for now.